Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, the President fires Bureau of Corrections Chief Nicanor Faeldon.
May apoy na nga eh. I was trying to provide the fire extinguisher para wala na maduda yung tao. No releases.
Are you firing Nick Faeldon as Bucor
Yes,
Chief?
now.
Amid controversies hounding the Good Conduct Time Allowance law.
I suspect that corruption was present there. Ibig sabihin yung iba, baka binili.
Now the chief executive wants freed heinous crimes prisoners back in prison immediately.
I do not need to have a warrant. I will just order them. And I take full responsibility for this. And all consequences connected with this decision will be mine and mine alone.
But will it be constitutional to do so? House Justice Committee Chairman Vicente Ching Veloso joins us live. Thank you for joining us. Sitting in for Pinky Web, I'm Ina Andulong. President Rodrigo Duterte fires Bureau of Corrections Chief Nicanor Faeldon following the controversies on the implementation of the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law, or GCTA. The President also wants the Ombudsman to step in and investigate how the law was carried out. He also wants those who were released under the GCTA back in prison. Now that Faeldon is out, what happens to his possible liabilities as Bucor Chief? And can the government constitutionally rearrest freed prisoners under the GCTA? Let's go straight to the source of the story, House Justice Committee Chair Vicente Ching Veloso. Hi, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, your thoughts first. Of course, a big story last night, the President firing Bucor Chief Nicanor Faeldon. What do you think about that?
Well, as what the President said, it was necessary to extinguish the fire. Next is, you were saying, is it constitutional? Or is that the issue that we will be discussing?
Later on, sir, later on.
Okay.
Ito muna nga
Faeldon,
pag-fire kay...
it was necessary.
Why do you think it was necessary?
Because of the, well, the President said it, there was corruption involved. Whether or not he is guilty is another matter, because he also said all the cases will now be brought to the Ombudsman. And I don't like to add any comment to that.
Okay. Actually, medyo related dun yung next question, sir. Does his firing somewhat strengthen the theory that perhaps Faeldon did something wrong?
Bear in mind that this is the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law is circa 2013. So how many Bucor directors did we have since 2013? And bear in mind also that I am not defending Faeldon, but he became Bucor director only for less than a year.
Yes.
So what happens now to those who came ahead of him?
Okay.
Especially in our hearing the other day, I was looking at the figures. Imagine from 2013 up to 3 days ago,
Yes.
2,160 convicts of heinous crimes were released.
Yes. That's just part of the, I think, sir, 22,000 in total, about 22,000 in total, released.
Okay. In 2018 alone, you already had 407. Well, of course, 2019, this year, January up to 3 days ago, we had 821. But to come up with 2,160, especially that started only with one released, only one was released in 2013, there's really a lot of hanky-pankies that went on. And who are responsible? It's timely that the President said, throw this to the Ombudsman.
Okay. Sir, you talked about possibly looking into the actions of the previous Bucor chiefs because si Mr. Faeldon or present Bucor officials are saying that the process they're following now is the same as what were followed before. Are you saying na dapat din meron ding possible liabilities yung previous Bucor chiefs doon sa pagpapalaya nitong bilang na sinabi ninyo?
In the case of Fidel Tan, which was decided in 1967, involving, because this is an old law. That's why a while ago I was telling you, I suggest that we no longer talk about Republic Act 10592. We rather talk about the revised penal code as amended by 10592. This good conduct time allowance was discussed in the case of Fidel Tan, 1967.
Okay.
And there, Justice J.B.L. Reyes, the well-respected, I think, we law students, UP Ateneo, we view that Justice J.B.L. Reyes was the best justice we ever had. But looking back, he said that those responsible for erroneously releasing a convict, meaning he is not entitled to good conduct time allowance, must be punished.
How punished?
Well, there are three things that can proceed by way of penalty or punishment. An administrative case can be filed. And when you file a case before the Office of the Ombudsman, two cases already can crop up, docketed as A, administrative, C, criminal. The next is the civil aspect of it. So there are three.
More on the Bucor officials involved in the releaser.
Yes,
Okay.
because especially if it involves graft and corruption.
Okay.
Section 3 of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act will come into the picture,
Okay.
especially on the undue injury aspect of it, Section 3E.
Sir, yung 2,000 figure na sinabi ninyo, again, hindi naman po lahat yan na-release during the time of Mr. Faeldon.
Correct.
So you're saying if administrative or criminal charge and/or criminal charges are to be filed, kasama rin po yung previous Bucor officials.
Necessarily. Otherwise, you will be violating the equal protection of the laws guaranteed in Section 1, Article 3 of the Constitution.
Is this something that you perhaps will discuss in your probe at the House of Representatives on the implementation of the GCTA?
Definitely, because we took off from a House resolution filed by Congressman Garbin. We only had to treat it in a briefing because of the conflict in dates we had with the Senate. In fact, we were figuring out that the Senate would only have one-day session, only to find out na they had Monday, ours was Tuesday. Well, we could not really proceed conveniently with our hearing because I talked to Senator Gordon. He said, structure of the Senate President, kailangan tapusin namin ito. Tuesday.
Okay, sir, before we continue, let's play first a soundbite from President Duterte. Again, his reason why he fired Bucor Chief Nicanor Faeldon.
I said no releases, but what he said was a computation. May apoy na nga eh. I was trying to provide the fire extinguisher para wala na maduda yung tao. No releases. Eh kung sinabi niya yan, di wala na sana. Ang ginawa niya, he tried to justify ang computation nila.
Are you firing Nick Faeldon as Bucor
Yes,
Chief?
now.
Yes. Okay, sir. Again, moving on to your probe at the House of Representatives about the GCTA. Sabi mo, you will look into other or previous Bucor officials that led the agency at the time when those 2,000 heinous crime victims, or convicts rather, were released. Kasama doon, no? Buc is Bato de la Rosa, now senator.
Well, he admitted on record that he was prepared to face questions from his colleagues, the Senate, because I recall that it was Senate President Soto who said that Senator Bato de la Rosa will have to answer questions both in his capacity as a senator and as a resource person.
Your House Justice Committee chairperson, sir, so far, what is your assessment on the implementation of the GCTA?
The GCTA law was an imperfect law. It needs only few refinements.
A few refinements.
But the problem is, new believed prisoners it is, parang nagkakahawaan. Especially when it comes to corruption. So what the President said, magaling ang assessment ng Presidente. There was corruption, and people must suffer for those corruptions. But you cannot also do that without observing due process. So, titingnan yan. That's why when he referred the case to the Ombudsman, it was so quick, mabilis. He fired Faeldon. And I think reading between lines, marami pa ang tatanggalin dyan.
Are you convinced, sir? Do you think that money changed hands dito sa pag-release ng mga controversial or high-profile convicts?
This is a crime under the revised penal code. There are only two crimes in the revised penal code, intentional and non-intentional, like reckless imprudence, nakasagasa ka ng bata. Ito intentional. No intentional crime can be committed without a motive. Why would an authority release a person without a motive? And what is behind that motive? Financial consideration, of course.
Okay.
That's why the President hit it right. May corruption dito.
Okay. You're saying, sir, intentional talaga. It's not just a matter of, kasi ganyan yung proseso na sinusunod noon pa. Hindi ka naniniwala doon.
In fact, that was treated also in the case of Fidel Tan. So, next question, please.
Okay, now we'll be talking about this more later on, sir. We'll be taking a short break for now. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Lawmakers are reacting to President Duterte's order to fire Bureau of Corrections Chief Nicanor Faeldon. Senator Joel Villanueva says, quote, "This is a commendable move of the President in response to the series of failure in leadership of Faeldon and his association with corruption." Senator Mig Zubiri also supporting the President's move. He says, within just a few days, Faeldon has been exposed as having consciously applied the GCTA erroneously for the benefit of heinous crimes convict Mayor Antonio Sanchez. As for Senator Kiko Pangilinan, Faeldon should face charges. Pangilinan says, quote, "Wag lang ilipat si Faeldon sa iba pang ahensya. Kasuhan siya ng perjury sa kanyang pagsisinungaling sa Senado at possible violation of Section 3 of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act para sa pagpapalaya ng mga presong di karapat-dapat." ACT-CIS Party List Representative Eric Go Yap says the President's move should serve as a warning that no one is above the law. Yap says, quote, "We should not allow the loopholes of the law to benefit those who do not deserve them." And speaking to CNN Philippines, Senator Dick Gordon says Faeldon is not fit for the job. And still joining us here in the studio, Congressman Ching Veloso. Sir, you were saying, perhaps money changed hands. Pero it's not just with, if ever the top official of Bucor, you would want to look into other officials involved.
Release of a convict on the basis of good conduct goes through a process. Who were involved in that process? An erroneously released convict was released because of conspiracy. Those who were part of the process definitely were conspirators. The act of one became the act of all. So they have to suffer the same liability as Faeldon.
Okay, so it will not stop with Faeldon.
It will not stop with Faeldon.
Okay, sir, moving on, President Duterte saying dapat daw mag-surrender yung heinous crime convicts who were released under the GCTA. If not, he said he will order them arrested. Is that constitutional?
It is. This actually was treated in the case of Fidel Tan, June 25, 1967. Issue of due process was raised. issue of double jeopardy was also raised. According to the Supreme Court, said there is no double jeopardy. You know the meaning of double
Yes.
jeopardy. You're
Can't be
being charged.
convicted.
You're being charged twice.
Yes, of the
for
same crime.
What is involved here is service of sentence of a convict. You are being made only to continue serving the sentence, which was aborted because of your untimely release. Okay. There is no double jeopardy because there are no two charges here. There's only one charge for which you have been convicted and for which you are being made to serve. In the case of Fidel Tan, he was made to serve 1.5 years more. The sentence was 4 years, and he was released 2.5 years, meaning the release was premature. Similarly, in this case, taking a look at Article 99, it says, whenever lawfully justified, the Bucor director, the chief of BJMP, the warden of the provincial, district, municipal, or city jail, they can release. But the condition is when lawfully justified.
Okay, you're saying if convicts were released based on erroneous interpretation of the GCTA law, ano po ang pwedeng mangyari?
It was erroneous because Article 29, as amended by 10592, says you cannot release a person charged with recidivism, or when the person charged is a recidivist, a habitual delinquent, an escapee, or charged of a heinous crime. Heinous crime alone, hindi ka na pwede.
Okay. But how will it happen, sirs? The president said
Sorry.
he doesn't need an arrest warrant to get these convicts back to prison. Let's play first a soundbite of the president talking about that.
I do not need to have a warrant. I will just order them. And I take full responsibility for this. And all consequences connected with this decision will be mine and mine alone. I am ready to be investigated, and I'm ready for an impeachment. And I'm ready to resign if warranted.
Pwede ba yun, sir? Walang arrest warrant? Paano yung magiging approach of law enforcers in
The
executing that
president
order?
is a lawyer. He knows his law. Okay, in the case of Fidel Tan, that was also raised as an issue. The Supreme Court said the jurisdiction of the court does not end with the rendition of a judgment. Okay, it continues until the full enforcement of that judgment. In that case of Fidel Tan, as is the case now, the convict did not serve it fully because of the premature release, of the untimely release. Now, do you need a search warrant? No. The Supreme Court said the court that exercised jurisdiction over the case, the court that sentenced Sanchez in this particular case, will be the very same court that will issue an order for his recommitment.
Order of recommitment.
Recommitment. It's not a warrant of arrest. Recommitment. Because he has been previously arrested. It is the arrest of an accused that enables the court to acquire jurisdiction over the person of the accused. Now, here is a convict, sentenced, final na ang judgment. Hindi lang natapos. You have to be recommitted to jail. If I am the chief of the PNP, it is as if he is escapee. Tamang ginawa ng presidente. Give them time to report back to Bucor in 15 days.
Okay.
They will be treated as escapees and they can be hit.
Okay. Kailangan pa ba, sir, hintayin yung sinasabi ninyong order of recommitment from the court?
As I said, kung ang police ay talagang gagawin ang trabaho nila, if they really would be doing what is necessary in the circumstances, they should already arrest these people. If they would resist, they cannot be found, then the court must issue a recommitment order.
Okay.
It is only when the police officers or the authorities fail to put them back to jail, that the court can issue, not just any court, the court that had jurisdiction over the case will have to issue a recommitment order.
Okay, we'll be taking another short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, House Justice Committee Chair Vicente Ching Veloso. So, of course, we should go beyond the case of Antonio Sanchez or just these 2,000 heinous crime convicts released wrongfully because of or under the GCTA. What are your plans as a lawmaker? You said earlier na nag-uusap tayo, it should go beyond the GCTA. What are your proposals?
I already intimated to my colleagues in the Justice Committee that I will be filing a bill amending Article 70 of the revised penal code.
Article 70, you want that appealed?
Amended.
Amended, rather, yes.
Not totally repealed. I am really bothered by the fact that the most that a convict for 9 heinous crimes could suffer is only 40 years. And there is now no difference between a convict for 9 heinous crimes versus a convict for, say, 2 heinous crimes, or even 1. Because the last paragraph of Article 70 says, reclusion perpetua must be 30 years. The third to the last says, your sentence for multiple sentences must not exceed threefold of the gravest. Okay, so 30 times 3 is 90. But the second is worse, or if not the worst. It says, regardless of what is provided on the threefold rule, it should not exceed 40 years. Okay. So if a convict at the age, he committed the crime at the age of 18, all those preventive imprisonment, all the stuff, the most that he can stay in jail is only for 40 years. 18 plus 40, that would only be 58. Right. Imagine he can be released despite his committing 9 heinous crimes. At the age of 55, he can be again a menace to society by committing what he did before.
This is actually what happened dito sa kaso ni Antonio Sanchez. He was given a 7 reclusion perpetua
Sanchez
ang kanyang sentence, sir. And then now, maximum 40 years lang talaga yun because he's serving it simultaneously. And now what you're saying is, dapat hindi, mas mahaba doon. What will your proposal be then?
First, Sanchez was convicted of 9. Kasi merong dalawang Peñalosa.
Oh yes, the other case rather. Okay, you're
so
right.
9. Despite his being guilty of 9 heinous crimes, 9 times 30, talagang haba-haba niyan. But second to the last paragraph says, the most that he can serve in jail is 40 years. Kawawa naman yun. I've been driving home the point. There are actually 2 offended parties in a criminal case. The state and the private individuals, Eileen Sarmenta, the parents.
Yes.
The state does not have business being so liberal in the matter of sentence via good conduct without taking into consideration the feelings of the aggrieved party. Ang dali mong magpakawala ng nakakulong. But how about the offended party? Yet we have in Article 2, Section 4, a mandate that the state shall protect the lives of its citizens. Here, the state failed in protecting the life of Eileen Sarmenta. And then worsely, it would be setting free a convict by reason of this GTA law
So,
and
sir,
the Article 70.
If not for a maximum of 40 years imprisonment, how long should it be for you?
A threefold rule could stand versus the 40 years because the most...
Can you explain to us yung threefold rule? Just for those who
Okay.
don't understand.
multiple crimes committed. In the case of Sanchez, you will only be counting first reclusion perpetua, life imprisonment, 30 years. Threefold rule times 3, so that's 90. With 90 years, at least he will no longer be in a position to harm society, even if he's released. But he will still be in a position to harm society by applying the second paragraph, second to the last paragraph. The most that he can stay there, regardless of the threefold rule, is 40 years.
Okay. You want that second
I will
paragraph
really- that will be the-
removed? Ano ba, sir?
I want that deleted.
Deleted.
Repealed.
Okay. You're filing this bill soon. How do you think will your colleagues respond to this?
Nobody said no. They agreed. Because they really see that it's a warp in the law.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
for
Ina.
joining us. House Justice Committee Chairperson Vicente Ching Veloso. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Ina Andolong. You're watching CNN Philippines.